Hello everyone, my name is Stephen Hilborn and this is Facility Design Week 8. A few things that we'll be talking about here today. First of all, there will be another video that I'll be introducing, which will be the major project, the major assignment that's worth 30% of your total mark. That will be introduced just shortly down the road. So you look for that in the assignments and test file. Another thing that I should bring up is that there has also been, under your announcements, an invitation to all of the FDNM students to come for free lunch in the Georgian dining room on campus. Now, all the third semester students. Now, if you're unable to come, I totally understand. It is not a must. I will do some video tours of the area so you get a better feel for the place. But if you're able to come for lunch, have a nice little time. And then I'll also give you some ideas of maybe how the place works and how it operates. So that's open. It's under announcements. There's a link there. I can only accept a certain amount of people, and we are nearing that amount. So if you want to sign up, I recommend that you do that very, very soon. And I will close it off once there's too many people in there. Okay. So for today, a couple things that we'll be talking about is the front of house layout. So if you refer to the new syllabus that's located under course information on Blackboard, you will see that for the next 2 weeks, we will have 7.5% assignments. Why they are 7.5% assignments is because they have a more moving parts, and I am also allowing to work in pairs should you wish. If you can come to class, I recommend it. If you cannot, that's okay. I will have a training video, of course, outlining exactly what the expectation is. What I'm going to do here today is go through all of the moving areas of the front of house to give you an idea of when you get the assignment, this is how you would design them, or these are things that you should be looking at. So for the first few slides here, very basic, I have just an idea of kind of how some layouts may be created. So we're only going to be asking for the front of house, and it's going to be more of a bar lounge area, but this will give you a bit of an idea. Obviously here with the entry, and as they walk in, you'll see there's a bunch of different travel areas that they can go. Some of these are into the back of the house, into different washrooms, up to the bar area, or into the dining room. And of course, although it seems to be missing, this should be the location of some sort of host area. And then you just have an array of different 2-seaters, 4-seaters, maybe some 6-seaters up here, your bar area, and then your back of house as well. So multiple different ways in which you can look at these. What I think you need to focus on is you want to design your big areas first. So what I think is that the bar, if the kitchen is the heart of the house, HOH as they call it, the bar would be the brain. Okay, it's the other big moving area. It's typically located in a central spot. This is where the majority of the investment in dollars go as well, because it could also have fridges that are backing into it, dishwashers and stainless steel and mixers and fridges, and or I already said that, all kinds of different things that are up here, as well as this receives probably the most action or the most business over a longer period of time, because into the late night. So here you see another option where people are coming into this restaurant and they have their pretty standard layout of a bunch of different options there for their seating and then their bar area as well. Again, a very small image of just give you a different viewpoint of some of these different front of house layouts. This was actually one of the students' assignments. Okay, so the following front of house areas, these are things that we have to keep in mind. There will be a main dining area or several main dining areas. I'll show you a layout of a keg and kind of give you an idea that there can be 2 or 3 different dining areas that you open based on business. So the busier you are, you might open 2 or 3 of them, and maybe on a Monday evening where it's not as busy, you only open 1 of them. There could be private dining areas that you only open in the event of busy weekends and or actual events. And then you have patio seating, bar area, entry and waiting, server stations, and then of course the washrooms. So for the first one, the main dining room, you have to ask yourself a few questions. How formal? Do I want to offer booth seating? Now, the thing about booth seating is that while it's probably the most requested style of seating, it is the least manipulatable. It's not flexible, it's not adaptable. A booth that sits 4 people only ever will seat 4 people. But a table that seats 4 people can be moved to create tables of 6, 8, 10, 12. So it's very much based on what's your style and level of dining. Are you going to offer takeout, and do you have a different area for that? Will you have bar seating, a lounge area? What kind of party sizes can you expect to have? And what kind of furniture and decor do you need to support your theme? So you have to select your furniture and pay close attention to the quality and durability. Part of your assignment will be selecting a table and chairs for your front of house design that you're going to be doing here today. Before purchasing any furniture, you may want to ask questions about material, if it's replaceable, if it's easily cleaned, what kind of upholstery, so on and so forth. Some lighting and decor things you'll have to talk about, and we've talked about lighting, but again, front of house is different from back of house. Back of house lighting is going to be process driven. So we have a job to do. We have to ensure that we are able to do so, and we need the lighting to be safe and efficient. In the front of house, we need the lighting to be safe, but consider what a movie theater light looks like versus the concession in the front of the area, right? So we also have a theme. We have an ambiance that we want to impact. So some of this lightings and colors and things that I've mentioned here in this slide might have a different effect. Now, I have incorporated a couple of those pictures that we've seen from week 7 PowerPoint, and some of the colors of interior design and just how different colors give you different feelings. I would stay away from too much color. It's usually better as an accent than it is as just a whole theme. Specifically red, because it's one of the most aggressive colors, although you do see it somewhere. So as I mentioned, they're using yellow quite a bit here, but they're using it in all their upholstery and then also in the column. I actually dislike this a lot, but we've always used this because it just shows all the different color schemes. It looks like you're in an aquarium, which might be fine for some people. So that's at your dining room. When it comes to designing a patio dining area, it's an excellent way to enlarge your seating. It usually incorporates using space that didn't have a purpose before, so that's fantastic. So if you had a restaurant that could seat 100, but you, for 6 or 8 months a year, you can incorporate another 60 seats on a patio, that's amazing because you usually wouldn't pay money to lease that property. You want to make use of market umbrellas or awnings to obstruct some of the sun. You could, and we've seen this specifically during the pandemic, is using outdoor heaters and tents and shelters to extend this into the colder months. And if your patio area is large enough or on a separate floor, if it's a rooftop patio, you may want to put a bar in that area as well. So this gives you an idea of using these awning systems where they are able to retract them so they can let the sun in, or on those colder days or on a really hot day, they can retract them and kind of make this whole patio feel somewhat a little cooler and more enclosed. Next one is the entryway. We don't spend enough time on entryways because really it is the first date of restaurants. It is your first impression on when you go into a place. So the weight of the door, the size of the door, the furnishings, is there a bunch of pieces of paper and business cards and brochures all stacked up, like stapled up on a board, or is it a nice, classy, clean area? When you step on the mat or the rug, is it sopping wet and dirty and salt and snow all over it? Or again, is it clean and taken care of? This is the first impression, so we have to be careful. Often we also live in seasonal areas, so we have to incorporate vestibules. So there will be a host platform. This needs to happen. It's the helm of the ship. It's where we decide what customers go where. And a host is a very valuable position. And often I've seen in larger restaurants that this is not an hourly frontline position, but a host manager will run these. It's kind of the quarterback and calling all the shots. There may be a merchandising area. You see this a lot in brew pubs. You're starting to see it in some other eclectic private restaurants where they'll sell their pickled green beans and asparagus. They'll sell their barbecue sauces. They'll sell T-shirts and mugs and things like that. Coat check. We don't really see those too often, but very fine dining may have a coat check. Otherwise, there'll be a coat opportunity or hooks hanging at the individual seats. Vestibules, any place that has winter should have a vestibule. Now, it can be 2 sets of doors in a kind of a small little antechamber, or it can be just not a vestibule, but one of those roundabout doors, which also stop. You often see in hotel chains, but that really stops a lot of the heat loss as well. You might see displays, dessert display, again, very old school, but sometimes they still have these. And you might see some kind of reviews and articles concerning your restaurant on the walls, although that's a little tacky, but depending on the level of restaurant, it might make sense. The more popular they are, the more requirement for a waiting area you will need. And I think you can all agree, a normal person is somewhat nice. A hungry person can be downright evil. So if you have a waiting area, you want it comfortable. You want an area that they can rest, relax, they can chat, they're not crammed. Sometimes, and we've done this before, if your wait is very long, we'll actually bring them some food. So it's not a waste of potential table space if you are now extending where a customer might come in, they say, it's 45 minutes for a table. If their waiting area is nice enough that they're willing to wait, you've extended your service time. You haven't wasted potential table space, but you have to do it well. The bar area is, again, I think one of the most important or the most important aspect of how you would design a front of house space. It is the focal point. It is the action. It has strong visuals throughout it. So whether that be televisions, it could be lighting to illuminate liquor bottles. It could be just other kinds of lighting to create ambiance. It is where people go to be heard, to be seen. And it's where my love of the industry really came in, from bartending and some of these higher class bar joints. Typically, a bar will share a back wall. And beyond that back wall or beyond that full wall area will be a tie-in to the kitchen. So we need electrical, we need plumbing, we need access to fridges and bar sinks and glass washers. And now often a lot of this stuff, there will be fridges and bar sinks and glass washers inside the bar, but we might need access to larger areas behind that one wall. So here you can see just kind of a layout, and this is the back wall where they have their liquor display. Now the thing about this you need to understand is that right behind here, and I think this gives you a visual, this one's not really designed very well because you don't see the back of house, but you have to run draft. So if you have draft taps, which I think I see a couple, I think these are draft taps. But if you're running draft taps, which is where you pour beer from, usually can't go more than about 60 feet because you lose pressure and you lose quality of beer. North America, every single bar that is a bar typically has a couple draft taps. So you can buy individual units, like little kegerators they're called, which is like an individual keg in a refrigerator, and pull the draft tap from there. That might work, but ultimately a lot of these places have full beer fridges and have all the kegs, have all the bottles of wine, has all the beer from in a bottle format that is very easy to access from that bar area. So it gives you an idea of what this bar could look like. And again, using lighting and using different themes to kind of show off the action and the appeal and the ambiance of these bar areas. Now, we're going to need equipment behind there. And number one thing is that you do not want to wash your nice glassware with food. So often I see in restaurants where they're going to put all their wine glasses and martini glasses in this rack and send it through the same dishwasher that they just used to wash their bacon grease filled pan. And you can't do that. It ruins your glassware. if I get a glass of wine, there's going to still be an essence of a smell on there. There's going to be a grease and oil, a residual that you just can't get rid of or not easily. So you want to separate that. So you'll use a glass dishwasher. There's different kinds. They call these often the dolphin, but these are the rotary, the reciprocal, where they just go around and they just kind of automatically stop. Or there's the single-use option. There's a bunch of different options out there for you as well. Now, I'll talk more in detail when the assignment comes as far as bar layouts and what should be there, but there's a lot of different moving parts. So, server stations. Regardless, even if you have a bar area with a POS behind there and you have all the stuff that you need, you should have your own satellite service stations located throughout your restaurant. We're in the science of facility design, which basically means I want to limit every single process to as few steps as possible. Now, as few steps as possible might mean also as few steps, as an example, to make a Caesar, but as few physical steps I need to take to do that same. So if I need to serve a table, I don't want to have to walk 50 steps to the back of the house to get plateware and cutlery and roll-ups and linens when I can do a small 2-foot by 2-foot little server station with a POS computer on top, and below is all of my little side plates and cutlery and salt and peppers and all the things that they need quite often. So it should be convenient. It should be along those travel pathways that we often talk about, yet out of place so it doesn't make or cause congestion. And if we can keep them out of the line of sight of guests, that's even more ideal. Things that they should include are POS system and credit card machine, water, coffee, tea, check holders, tip trays, server trays, linens, bus pans for dirty dishes, cleaners, sanitizers, and that's just a bare minimum. Excuse me so much. And then this gives you a little idea of what that service area could look like. So it's just a little server stand. They have all their glassware, their POS, pens and menus and side plates and all the good stuff that they need in which to run this little business. And you see just a couple other ones, but they're just kind of tucked in there. This one looks like it's more in the back of house area, which you're always going to need one in the kitchen as well. You'll need the largest one in the kitchen, a server station, and then smaller satellite ones throughout the main part of the restaurant. Okay, washrooms. So washrooms, you need one washroom for every 15 guests, I believe it is. I have to double check that. One for 15? I think so. They should be accessible, but separate from the dining area. Think about your travel pattern, because people that are in the restaurant need to go to the washroom, but also people that maybe are at the front or are waiting also need to go to the washroom. You do not want people that are waiting for a table to have to walk through all the seated area to go to that place. So keep that in mind when you're doing your design. Placing your restrooms also near the kitchens can save you money on your plumbing. So you can start to see how we start to become quite limited in the ways that we can develop washrooms. They need to be by the kitchen, but not on the other side of the dining room, but also by the front door, but not too far away from the bar. So you really start to have to be very clever about how you set these up. Because at the end of the day, it costs you steps and it costs you money to not design something well. And that, if you learn anything from this entirety of the course, that's more or less it. Be cost efficient, be process efficient, and you will be successful. Often you'll see modern restaurants have moved away from gender-specific facilities, opting for a bunch of smaller single-occupant non-gender toilets, which works as well. So again, this just gives you an idea of some of these layouts. Here, I don't love it because if they come in here in the front door, now their washrooms are located back here. Now they are located close to the dining area. They are located close to the bar. It's not in the walking path of the kitchen where they come out with the food, so that's good. The only thing that I don't love a lot is that you kind of have to walk through the restaurant. Not really, not too much actually, so it's not bad. You know, if the washrooms were over here on the left, that might work out well in the bar up in this area, but either one is efficient. There you go, 1 for every 60 women. So as a general rule, the minimum requirement is 1 for every, it used to be 1 for every 30 women and 1 for every 60 men. It's now 1 for every 30 people, period. Smaller establishments, employees and customers access can be combined, but generally you just don't want to do that. You want to be able to offer separate washrooms for staff as well as customers, because I don't necessarily want the guy who's cooking my food beside me going to the washroom. You know, you just relate food and unsanitary practices. It's just not good optically from a perception standpoint. Smaller food preparation facilities can exclude that exclusively provide carryouts. Is only required to have employee restrooms. So this could be your pizza places, Subways, you know, takeout areas. Restrooms for customers must be accessible for handicapped persons and individuals in wheelchairs, and they cannot be present in basements or back rooms, and they must not pass through the kitchen or food storage to reach them. Okay? Now, this just gives you an idea of what an accessibility-based washroom is. When you start designing your washrooms, you just need to ensure that you have at least one male, one female, or even just one gender-neutral washroom. And they do have a requirement, so that's 60 centimeters, I believe it was, 60 inches. So we did talk about that a little bit already in class when we did our Visio training. This is that 60 inches in which this person is able to fully turn around in a wheelchair that they will require. In the same one, looking from a little bit of a different angle, you'll start to see all the hand-holding equipment, the towels, the handles that may be required as well. When you are designing it in our class, as you'll see here, they have a handle over the toilet and handle beside it, and that's more than enough of what you are required when you do your washrooms. Not all of your washrooms need to be like this, but one at a minimum needs to. And it's just gives you a different kind of range. Now, it's very difficult for us to show height in the way that we're designing because we're looking straight down at the item, but you should have an understanding of how this works to ensure that the person in the wheelchair can get underneath the tap and get close enough to the water to clean their hands and so on. So I'm going to actually cut it off right here. Please open up the assignment video under assignments and tests, and I will go through assignment number 4 for the front of house design.